Okay. We are live. We are live. Let me make sure this is going on this end. Okay, perfect. Let me know when you go to the end.
Good.
All right. So let's do it. So welcome. Peace and blessings, everybody. Welcome to our second episode of Casket Ready. This topic is they depend on you, and we are specifically talking about the ladies out there, all the single mothers. This episode is specifically for you. Those of you who don't know, my name is Mr. Life, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
You're the one and only real estate Rob.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we even get into anything, we are going to play this video for you guys. Hold on 1 second. Share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it. Can you see
Yes,
it?
sir.
All right.
Yep.
Perfect.
Is your number one priority to make sure your family is protected? What about if you die? Do you want to make sure that they're protected in the event of your death? It is an important question, and it's also something that people don't want to think about. But what would your family do if you were gone? How would they pay for things like the house, car, school, or even just daily expenses? Life insurance can provide tax-free money for your family. That means money to pay rent or mortgage, paying off bills, money for a college education, and many other expenses that may come up. And of course, it's money that can help pay for funeral arrangements at a time when it's the last thing your family needs to worry about. This security and peace of mind for you and your family can only happen if you set up a life insurance policy before it's too late. Each day without a life insurance policy is another day that you are putting your family at risk. Contact us today to put a plan in place that provides peace of mind for you and to protect your family.
Okay. Stop sharing there.
So, okay, perfect. So let's get into it. The first thing, Kayleen, I don't appreciate you being sexist. It's not just for single mothers. They
Man,
all
listen,
depend on us.
listen,
Let's start off there.
we dedicating this episode for them. It's for all single parents, yes, but
Thank you.
specifically for the ladies, But let's go in. Let's go in.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about it, man. What's your thought on this? So let's talk about the video that was just played, man. Life insurance and the importance of life insurance, just because they depend on us.
Absolutely. Even the things that they listed, right? Who's gonna take over the mortgage? Who's going to make sure that the kids are good in school? Who's just gonna pay for the monthly expenses in general, right? So these are the things that we don't think about, just because we live our day to day. So these are the things that needs to be on the forefront and needs to be talked about, because this can easily happen to anybody. Somebody's life will drastically be impacted when somebody passes away, and that's the concept and the idea of it. But the better prepared that you are for it, the the less chances that not necessarily things won't go wrong, but it's just that you'll have a better setup in general, because let's face it, the money makes the world go round, and it's a thing where it's for supplemental income. That money that person was bringing in, when she's not there no more, who's going to pay for these things, right? What happens when your children are young, and they still dependent on you? What are you going to do? Who's going to take care of your children? You know what I'm saying? So those are the things that we got to think about.
Yeah. So pretty much, this message is for anybody that depends on you. We're talking about kids right now. If you got kids and they depend on you, it's important to have a policy. Let's be honest. These kids are spoiled these days.
Mhm.
Better yet, let's rephrase that.
Uh-huh.
We know as parents, I have the best kids, and you have the best kids, and they deserve the world, and blah 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 blah. So this is important for those parents that feel like they have the best kids in sliced bread.
Mhm.
They depend on you. So if something were to happen to you, you want to continue to let your child maintain that lifestyle they have, meaning that the iPads they got, the cell phones they got, the new iPhone 16 Pro they could get. You know, they're getting ready to have their Sweet 16. You know, they're getting ready to get their first car.
Yep.
They're getting ready to go to college. What happens if something happens to you? You know, single mothers and other parents also, okay? What happens to you at that point? What happens to them, should I say? You know, it's one of those things where, you know, at the end of the day, if something were to happen and someone would take on that financial responsibility, because it wouldn't be a burden, but just a financial responsibility, that's a tall task to take on. I mean, I don't know about you, Kay. Every time I get an extra subscription, that kills my pockets. Imagine taking on an extra life. Like, you know what I mean? Where
I'm not doing it. Straight up. I'm not doing it. So, and joking but not joking, right? So, what it is that this is the reason why we're having this conversation in the first place, because it's not fair to anyone else. It's not fair. What do I mean by that? That when you're planning your life, right, and you're a responsible adult, you plan your life. You have X amount of children. Let's just say you have two children. Let's say three. You have three children. You know, you planned your life to take care of these three children. You have siblings, or you have a best friend, you have a cousin, you have somebody that you're close with who also has children. Now that person passes away, and naturally you're going to feel hurt, you're going to feel pain, you're going to feel guilty, because now you know this child does not have a parent anymore. So what's the most natural thing that's going to happen? You're going to take on that child, you know, the responsibilities of taking care of that child, right? But your pockets didn't plan for that. And let's be real, like, you're struggling already with three children. How are you going to feed a fourth mouth? So it's like, the reason why this life insurance is so important is because, once again, that money that the parent was taking care of their child with can now be for that person who takes that child in and help take care of that child until he or she is, forget 18, at least till 21, to where they can, you know, be self-sufficient and independent and, you know, do things for themselves. And that's what the life insurance is for, you know. But in a lot of cases, you know, those things don't happen. And then so we end up taking on, you know, the responsibility of someone else's child. And, you know, we didn't plan for it. Think about it. That's what godparents is, quote unquote, supposed to be for, right? Like when the child gets when the child's at christening, right? We had godparents, right? We had a godfather and a godmother, right? So if something were to happen, you know, okay, this person is supposed to step in and help take care of that child. You're the godparents. What happened to that? That is no longer a real thing. And even if we, quote unquote, have godparents, it's the value of it, of what they're supposed to be doing, is like little to none, like, to be honest. You know what I'm saying?
Well, first off, okay, godparents still exist. Godparents still exist.
No, they do.
Yeah.
But to what degree?
To what degree? I mean, this is the thing about it, man. I mean, for the godparents part, you just got to make sure you pick the right godparents. Listen,
correct.
Technically, you know, your mother's my godparent, so my godmother. So I do expect her to leave me, you know, something in the will when the time comes. Well, maybe let's talk about
that. Huh? That's funny.
But no, to your point, you know, if you do have a godparent and they're taking on that responsibility and they're actually taking it serious, the best thing to add with that is going to be a policy, meaning that you have the godparent, they know they're taking on that role, and you as a parent, if something were to happen to you, you're actually able to transfer the money over to them so they can maximize that role, meaning that you have a policy, you know, $200,000-$300,000 policy, God forbid something happens to you. That godparent now can be the ultimate parent, because they can pick up right where you left off. Can't replace the parent, but pick up right where you left off, where, hey, now the kid, they come over, they can move in. That godparent, if they don't have a big enough house, that money can be a down payment on a bigger house. That money can pay down some debt for them to get a bigger house, for your kids to have that room that they deserve and they previously had. You know,
Correct.
now that child can still go to college. You know, now that child can still continue the basic activities, going to soccer practice,
Mhm.
all that type of stuff is massive. It's important.
And from a emotional standpoint, a lot of kids they probably wouldn't want to continue that sport, or it may take a lot for them to for that sport to continue doing that sport, right? Why? Because their parent is gone, so they may not play that level of competition that they have to where they're actually doing good. It may not be the same. Why? Because it was their parent who was cheering them on, and it was the parent who was helping them get to that point. But at least they had that option to continue doing it if they wanted to, right? And now, what you gonna say?
Now I was gonna say Tawana. Shout out to Tawana. She's
Yeah.
like she had 5 godparents. Like that's a lot.
All right, godmama. You better make sure you're there for all them kids, all right? Make sure you're there for all of those kids. and no, that's what I got godkids too. I got godkids too.
Yeah.
You know, so 100%, like, you know, and the reason why this is real and so important, I've had conversations with some of my boys, right, who made me the godfather of their children, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've had this conversation. And to make it brief, it was just the idea and the concept of, listen, I'm not making you a godparent just cause. I'm making you a godparent because I grew up with you and I confide in you, and you know you're one of the first people that I will go to. You're one of the go-to people for my family. So if something were to happen to me, I want you to take care of the extension of my family, which is my children. If that makes sense, right? So then, for me, I'm like, oh, that's an honor right there to actually do something like that, right? So then, a lot of times we don't realize that, you know, just being around somebody in their family on a day-to-day basis, or or however long, you know, how impactful that you can be in that person's life to where they say, you know what, I'm going to make you the godparent of my child. That's literally saying you're an extension of who I am to my own child.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? So that's an important role, man. That's an important role.
To your point, you know, godparent is a real role. You know, godparent is a real role, and you know, to your point, the life insurance piece actually helps it and connects the final pieces so they can flourish in that role that's passed on to them and stepping up. You know, it's just like a football game or a basketball game or a sport where somebody gets injured and somebody has to fill in and still take them to the championship. It's the same role. That second bench player is dependent on. And honestly, you know, I like what you said earlier on. But the truth is, if I'm gonna tell you, money makes people happy. So I'm gonna cheer. To your point, you said the cheering earlier. If I'm a godparent of somebody, and God forbid something does happen to him, and you know I'm able to get that lump sum of money to help take care of my godchild, best believe I'm cheering for real like a cheerleader. Because at the end of the day, you know, financially we all better. You know what I mean? That kid's getting the best life, and my life is improving. Let's not forget about that. It's going to be a benefit to that person that you leave that money for, where their life is going to legit improve based off of that. And not only is it going to improve, it's going to influence them if they're not already prepared to get a policy for their kids, for themselves, for their godparents that they have, and so on and so forth.
Correct.
You know, the other quick thing, and I'll turn it over to you, want to get into, is that it's also benefits with these policies outside of death. These policies come into play if something were to happen to you. You know what I mean? Even if you go on disability, you can pull some of this money out of these policies. So it doesn't just have to be somebody passing away for you to reap some benefits. If you're still alive, you're still a parent, something happened, a crazy disability or a critical illness or something like that, and you can't go to work, these policies come with features and benefits where it's like, hey, I lost my job, I can live off of some of this money based off of me losing it on a disability and things like that, based off of me getting a new sickness or a new illness, you know, based off of me not being able to perform 2 out of the 6 daily functions. That's crazy. Imagine you having a policy for $200,000-300K and you reap a benefit like that. Like, man, I'm on hard times. I could pull money out and still provide the quality of life you want for your kid while you're still alive and while something happened in your life. That's amazing.
No, that's massive. I mean, and the crazy part is, most people think that that's the worst thing that can happen to you is that you pass away. That's actually the second worst thing that can happen to you. The first worst thing is that you actually survive a near-death experience. Now your life is not going to be the same. To your point, now you want to keep up with your standardized living, but how when now you're disabled? So you can't. Life can't be the same for you. But at least financially, you could sustain and upkeep the life that you and your family are used to. At least that's going to remain, and that's super, super important. At least you won't miss those games still. At least whatever you're used to doing, those things still happen. At least you could still afford to pay your bills, because you're disabled at that point. How do you go back to work? So a lot of these things people don't actually truly think about. That's one aspect of it. Now let's just talk about it from the perspective of the different types of policies. But we're going to just harp on one for today, which is the actual term policy, right? Now, when we think about a term policy, most people don't really like the idea of a term, but they don't realize how valuable just having a term is. Imagine that you have coverage for the next 30 years of your life, right? Like, 39, right? That means that from 9 years old to 39, I would have been covered, right? Or realistically, from 39 to 69, I'd be covered, right? Now, when you think about it from that perspective, a massive amount of coverage that somebody can get, let's just say, for example, you get $300,000 worth of coverage, $50 a month. So if anything were to happen to you within 30 years is a long time. That's like a third of somebody's life, almost half of somebody's life. And then you can use that when you pass away. Obviously, it's not, you still have living benefits, but it's more about your beneficiary and your family benefiting from you passing away. But imagine how much you're changing the trajectory of your family's life by just putting away $50 a month. I know for a fact that anybody on this panel, anybody listening in, you've spent $50 today. On food. You get what I'm saying? On nothing, on absolutely nothing. You spend that money. So, you spend it on a drink. You're going to go out with your girls this weekend and spend it on a drink. You will.
And to piggyback off of, what you said.
Yeah.
It's crazy because we all, and our parents say it too, is like, you're always a kid to a parent. Meaning that most kids, even if they leave and go off to college, even these days, even with this economy, kids come back to like 35. So imagine if something does happen to you in that time frame, that 30-year policy, and you're 28, 29, and you're going through that rough patch, and you just came back to mom's crib or dad's crib or whatever the case is, dad's house. And now you got that policy. Now, as an adult, you're still set. Because let's be honest, the way life is set up and life be lifing, we come through a lot of hard times. If something were to happen to you, and you're in 28, 29 in transition, and you went through a hard time, now that money came in to where it can help you sustain your living even as an adult, so you still transition. Because our parents are always trying to protect us. Every parent knows the model is you're always going to be my child.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So in that time frame, you can protect someone for a 30-year window, if something were to happen to you. So the term policy is super affordable. And to your point, you can't just have insurance at your job. Because guess what? Most of the times, the insurance policy at your job, it's 50 cents every paycheck. But most times, the coverage is only like $10,000, $20,000. So something does happen to you, and last time I checked, funeral costs $15,000-$20,000 to have a decent funeral.
At minimum.
That job insurance, that's all it's covering. And that's great if all you have. Absolutely, because $15,000-$20,000 ain't easy to come by. But if you have a term with that, now you're talking $300K, $400K of coverage. That's a lot of money. That can pay off the house that you lived in. That could pay up the rent for a couple of years. It could do a lot of things. Like we always say, don't leave people memories. Leave me money. It's a reason why I might be the favorite uncle in my family. Because they always say, hey, uncle, can I borrow $20? Hey, can I get this? Hey, can you get this for Christmas? It's a reason why you're the favorite relative when you're giving out money. It's not a coincidence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. She cracking up over there. Nah, but it's a real thing, when you're talking about leaving memories behind, or versus leaving money behind, right? So when somebody passes away, the most somebody will do is say, "Oh, my condolences, rest in peace." That is it. That is it. It's a good gesture, but the truth is that goes so fast, because after that statement, everything else is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Pain, the bills, you know, the question of how you're going to sustain, all of those things are still there, right? You know, so I would rather, you know, I'm going to still tell you rest in peace. I'm still going to say my condolences, my prayers. But along with that, I want to deliver a check to your family for $500,000. So when I'm telling you my condolences, you're actually getting a check as well. It's a different feeling versus I'm sorry. It's a different feeling, 100%. You know, can't bring that person back, but I know I just changed your life.
Yeah, no, man, that's real talk, man. And real quickly, I want to segue into how easy that is. You know, just scrolling down on the bottom, you see our website. It's a real easy process. It's something that just going to our website, booking an appointment, and we have that conversation and we go over those quotes and we, you know, match your pockets and see what works out for your pockets and what's your current situation. But at minimum, you should get a term policy with us if you don't have one. If you don't understand the insurance policy you have, call us, DM us, book an appointment on the site. If you have a policy at your job, but it's just not enough, call us, DM us, book it on the site. These are things you want to clarify because once you're gone, there's nothing to clarify. Honestly, you're gone, you're done. That's it. You know, and not to sound morbid, but it's just the reality of the situation. So, but to your point, Kay, it's serious, man, because, you know, we really love our kids and we want to leave them the best and make sure they're in the best position possible. And, you know, I personally take pride in it because at the end of the day, as parents, we know that, you know, we want to do better for our kids. And we talk about it all the time. If I could do a little bit more better, if I could have done this different and did this better and gave my child this or that. But it's also another opportunity to set a child up the right way if you have a policy where it's not going to make up for anything. And the kid is probably not even thinking about it. They're still living their good life, but you knew that you could have done better. So why not do the best and get your kid a policy? And to your point, at minimum, you at least need a term.
Yep. And also, don't be afraid to have the conversation with the person who you feel you want to be the beneficiary of your policy, right? And I get it. It's weird. You know, it's a weird conversation. Dude, have it when you're drunk. When you out with your like seriously. Have it when you know what I'm saying, you feeling good, you in a good vibe, the vibe is nice, and you set aside 5 minutes to, you know what I'm saying, have this conversation. And where am I going with this, right? So like for real, shout out to Tawad. Like, you know, Ra, like, you know, we, you know, role play with me, man. Like we've been family from day one, right? You know, we've been best friends for Lord knows how long. You know, we've been ups and downs together. And it's crazy because, you know, the last event that we went to, you know, coming home, it kind of scared me a little bit because, you know, we nearly crashed, bro. And I ain't gonna lie to you, like I see my life flash before my eyes, and I ain't like that, to be honest with you. You know, so I say that to say I've been doing a lot of thinking, bro. And, you know, I was talking to somebody about this whole life insurance thing, and you know, thinking about getting me a policy. Now, you know, my son, he love you, call you Uncle Ra. You know, you've been to all of his games. You know, you even pick him up from karate sometimes. You know, so I say that to say, if something would have happened to me tomorrow, bro, I need you to make sure that you look after my son.
Yeah.
Nah, I need you to. I need you not. Okay, listen, bro. Like, you know, my pride and my joy is my son, and I don't trust too many people in this world. My kids, bro, and I trust them, bro. So I just want to make sure if I was to close my eyes tomorrow, that you got me.
Yeah. No, it's real talk, man. And, you know, dependability is real talk, man. And you got to be able to depend on people.
Yeah.
And even just jumping in on some of the comments on the gram, you know what I mean? Shout out to Miles Game. He said people need this info. Definitely. That's why we talking about it for real, to get the word out, you know. And then to the point I made earlier, Kay, Jazz said, yeah, the better plan in place, even without kids, I would be better equipped. So again, Kay, stop singling out people. You know
No, I come on, man. I ain't trying to single nobody out, man. You know what I'm saying? But is this there's a lot of parents out there. But in general, I'm just saying there's a lot of parents out there who
let's address that real quick, because I mean it's life insurance is about anyone that you care about. Point blank.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So we'll move off the kids part and just a regular Joe Schmo. You know what I mean? If you got a cousin, a brother, an uncle, anybody that you care about or love should, and I know this is going to sound crazy, should benefit from your death. Absolutely. I know that's a wild statement, but they should benefit from your death.
Absolutely.
Like, what a great gift to leave somebody. It's not about just the money. It's the fact you're able to build a legacy, hence the name Legacy Builders. Like, imagine that cousin, or imagine you have a policy. And believe it or not, the person that doesn't have kids has the opportunity to impact more of their loved ones' lives. Yep. Guess why? Because we all know we selfish. If we got kids, listen, my son getting everything first. We know that. Yep. Your kid don't get everything first. But if you're a person that you don't have kids and you have other loved ones, and you have a $500,000 policy, Jay gets 20, you get 15, you get 20, you get 30. And what does that mean? That means that policy can help 4 or 5 people around you, down payment on a house, a car. You know what I mean? On top of paying up their rent. You said what?
You sounded like Oprah just now giving out cars.
Listen, I'm saying, think about how real that is, though. Like, you know what I mean? Where somebody passed away and you have 2 beneficiaries on it. And listen, y'all my 2 best friends, y'all my 2 closest people. I got $500K. Y'all gonna get 60 each because y'all the ones. But I want you to dish out this to that person, dish out that to that person. And imagine you as a person, as an individual, someone passes away and, hey, guess what? They left you some money. What? They left me money? How much they left me? 20,000? What? Like, you know how much that could do for people? And change their life in that moment? Not only did you change their life in the moment, you changed their life in death, and you changed their life forever. If that ain't the realest gift, I don't know what is, honestly.
And then we about to wrap it up, get to the half now. So one of the last things I'll say is that on the flip side, I'm glad you said it to where this is for any and everybody, because it could be the exact opposite. It could be where, because sometimes, and as crazy as it sounds, sometimes children pass before the parent. So it could be the flip side to it as well. So I want people to realize that no one is exempt. This can happen to anybody, and any and everybody's life can drastically change because of it. And once again, man, listen, them baby kids that you got, don't bring them to my house, because I ain't gonna take them over. But listen, this is what I will do though. I will be the guy who would, once again, deliver a check to your home, $500,000. I will deliver a check to your home for $1 million. I will deliver a check to your home for $250,000 to change your family's life. So once again, just hit us up for a quote.
Yeah.
All we ask for 30 minutes of your time in a quote. That's all we need. That's all we need right there. I know we got some events coming up, Ross. So tell them about the events that we got going on.
Yeah, I'm jumping again events, but no pun intended with the babies, because you made me think about the old school. We don't die, we multiply. We multiply. That's a classic right there, though. Ironically enough, that goes with life insurance. So you want to multiply the money and leave these kids. But no. So we got some events coming up. September 27th in Greenbrook, New Jersey. We have Vision and Vibes, where it's going to be Vision and Vibes brunch, should I say. It's going to be a brunch. It's going to be food. It's going to be bottomless mimosas, super reasonable price. Come out. We're going to have fun. We're going to have games. We're going to have prize giveaways. We're going to have discounted services. You getting your bang for your buck. Go to the website, legacybuildersus.com. It's scrolling on the screen. Write it down. Take a screenshot. You know what I mean? And then book your appointment. And even better, we're actually, doesn't matter what state you're in. You could be in 50 states. We're going to have a Zoom version. We're going to have you logged into Zoom. We're going to have a private session for you for Zoom, so anyone can get a ticket. So no matter where you're at, you can get a ticket. Even international. Somebody's watching on YouTube International. Get yourself a ticket. We're going to get a copy to you. So yeah, that's our main event, September 27th. Go to the website, hit the event tab, and you'll be able to book a ticket. you can go directly to Eventbrite too. It's under Vision and Vibes. On the replay, comment on this. If it's anybody that needs a policy, call us, get a quote. At the worst, you'll know the information. If you have a policy at your job and you don't understand it, reach out to us. If you have a policy and you don't have enough coverage, reach out to us. If you have a policy and you don't know if it's a term, it's a permanent policy, reach out to us. If you care about anyone you love, reach out to us. So that's my message for everybody else. I don't know if you got anything else, Kate.
That's it. Here at Legacy Builders, we build together to grow forever. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in with us. And we will see you guys next Monday, same time, same place. Peace.